Welcome back to the video series Sea Level Rise Flooding. From a very busy intersection near Olympia's Percival Landing, I'm your guide and host, Paul Enns. This episode's topics include Olympia Peninsula assets and how they're at risk in the event of flooding. This episode covers three major issues. First, I'm going to highlight some of Olympia Peninsula's critical assets, how they're in jeopardy, and what makes them at risk. A review of additional assets such as buildings, roadways, utilities, as well as private assets such as the farmers market. Thirdly, some of the services that will be affected by flooding due to sea level rise and global warming. I was surprised about all the things that we take for granted. Sewers, catch basins, city lights, fire and EMT services, trees, roadways and bridges, things that we don't miss until they're gone. Flooding, especially from Puget Sound, will cause extensive damage to these infrastructure components. During intense storms and lake flooding, too much water in a short time flows into a combined wastewater and stormwater system that was built in the 50s. Back then, before the Lot Clean Water Alliance built its wastewater treatment plant, everything was dumped directly into Bud Inlet. Catch basins are located along our major streets. You may notice them when you walk downtown, but most of us rarely give them a second thought. So, what are catch basins? And how do they work? Catch basins are underground concrete structures fitted with a slotted grate. They collect stormwater runoff and route it through underground pipes. The catch basin grates allow sediment and debris to settle at the bottom of the structure. These sewer inlets shuttle water to the Bud Inlet treatment system. Not surprisingly, any type of flooding can cause damage. Freshwater flooding from intense rainstorms, or river flooding, or sewer storm drain backup, all are troublesome. Saltwater flooding is different. Saltwater is corrosive to electrical systems and systems designed for fresh water. One of the primary assets in downtown Olympia is Lot Clean Water Alliance facility, the sewage treatment plant for over 110,000 Thurston County residents. Wastewater and stormwater system from storm drains as well as catch basins. Then, two events can happen. First, too much water overwhelms the system. The high capacity intake is overloaded and the excess intake has to be shunted to either holding tanks for later regulated release or released back into Puget Sound. The second issue concerns saltwater getting into the pumps, processing tanks, or electrical panels.
Two different threats that come at the treatment plant from sea level rise. One is the flooding of the combined sewer system in downtown Olympia. The other is overland flooding from being near the coastline. That flooding would inundate the treatment plant and affect our ability to treat wastewater. So as that water travels along the streets, makes its way into the combined sewer system, that flow makes its way to the treatment plant, which could hydraulically overwhelm the treatment plant, and we could only pump out so much water at a time. So should the treatment plant be overwhelmed by floodwaters, wastewater would back up inside the city of Olympia's sewer system. When that happens, in the combined sewer system particularly, the mix of stormwater and wastewater could spill out onto the streets, creating a public health hazard for the community.
There are a number of buildings at risk in downtown Olympia. In the sea level rise report, the number of buildings in danger of flooding are 28, now with nuisance flooding. 170 buildings are in danger of flooding with 6 inches of sea level rise. 610 buildings with 12 inches of sea level rise by 2030. That's less than 9 years away. 970 buildings will flood at 68 inches. When we think of transportation, we think of roads, bridges, and highways. But let me ask you, how often do you think about a bus terminal when you're driving along? The inner-city terminal at Washington and State Street is one of the structures that can be impacted by flooding due to sea level rise. Our bridges are built high enough not to be threatened by foreseeable flooding. The downtown corridor is traversed by major streets: 4th Avenue, State Avenue, 5th Avenue. What happens when these critical roadways flood? How do police cars with 6 inches of clearance and fire trucks with 12 inches clearance respond to emergencies? But some of the power substations, like this one at the corner of Thurston and Franklin, are susceptible right now. This substation provides power to the Bud Inlet treatment plant. Lot does have backup generators, but they'll need fuel to run in the event of a power outage. You should know that PSE did not answer multiple requests to tell us of their plans for adaptation to sea level rising. Other assets are essential to the safety of those who live, work, and use downtown. Imagine all the streetlights not working or the traffic signals out of operation. What about all the trees throughout downtown? Guess what happens when they get flooded? Then there are the parks and fountains. There are a number of service facilities downtown, like the Olympia Union Gospel Mission. It provides services that include dental and vision clinics, recovery programs, temporary shelter, hygiene and clothing.
So the food bank's mission is to eliminate hunger in Thurston County. And really what we're trying to do is reclaim, redirect food that might end up in landfill or other places and get it on people's tables, really trying to meet the need of those who are hungry or food insecure in our community. So the types of folks that we serve, I think, really surprise people. We have about 8% of those that we serve are unsheltered. But beyond that, our largest number of folks that we serve are children under the age of 16. 49% of those we serve are children. We feed families. So the number of people we serve in Thurston County also surprises people. Last year, 2020, we served 69,000 people. So we are in downtown Olympia, where we're located, downtown Olympia at the corner of Thurston and Franklin Avenue. But it really is at when you think about sea level and where we're at, we're actually below sea level where we sit right now. So I have to tell you, we've got continuity of operations plans that we've practiced for natural disasters. But really in the last 18 months, due to the pandemic, we have learned a lot about how to run programs and get food out in the community.
Last but not least are all the private businesses that are downtown. The Olympia Yacht Club, Fiddlehead Marina, and Port Plaza are part of what makes Olympia Waterfront a viable visitor destination. Yes, the downtown area has many restaurants offering good food and views of the waters of Puget Sound. Let's not forget the iconic service, which is the Farmers Market. The Farmers Market is located on land owned by the Port of Olympia, in a building owned by the City of Olympia.
And what happens here is we have about 120 vendors. This market has been going on in this location since 1996. That's when the building was constructed. It's been going on since 1975, as you can see on my shirt right here. Really special. It's vendor owned, so I know that there has been discussion of the sea level rise of a few inches over the next 10 years or so. And that is a big concern for us, especially being on the port and being at or a little bit below sea level. And I understand that there has been some nasty storms that did pump out backside of the drainage, and so that is something that we've been looking at and developing an emergency plan around. And it's kind of a forefront thought that, you know, we need to be able to protect our area and our city, especially a Jewel, which is listed as the second or third most favored area to visit when you come into Olympia, which is the state capital.
During this episode, we have listed some of the many assets located in downtown Olympia. Each of them is subject to some kind of disruption in the event of flooding. These are what is at risk and potentially have severe consequences to flood damage. Critical services at risk: wastewater treatment, lifeline transportation, utilities such as electrical power, police, fire, and medical response, social services at risk, clinics and medical services, food bank services, shelter services, senior services. Think of the big economic impact: loss of workforce, real estate damage, loss of tourism. So much is at risk. The consequences of doing nothing are severe. The sea level rise response plan has incremental adaptation measures detailed for each of the focused areas: historic downtown, Percival Landing, Capitol Lake area, and the Bud Inlet wastewater treatment plant. On the next episode, we'll explore the phased adaptation measures that will protect downtown from flooding due to sea level rise, land sinking, and river and lake flooding. Till then, stay safe and stay dry.